Hello, it's SmallBizDavid, and welcome to day 3 of Global Entrepreneurship Week 2015. I want to take a moment to share with you how important Global Entrepreneurship Week is to me personally. It was 8 years ago, the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City, and the Kauffman Foundation is a multi-billion-dollar foundation for entrepreneurship. They are the absolute #1 entrepreneurship foundation. The work that they do is just unmatched. They do research about what's happening in the economy that literally folks around the world wait for their reports. They put money into new businesses. Just a wonderful, wonderful organization. And 8 years ago this week, they started this concept of Global Entrepreneurship Week. And I actually did not hear about it until the week started. And one of the means of communication I had back in those days, I said, wow, this is pretty interesting, a week of entrepreneurship, and I want to get into it. So I started to learn about it. The very next year, I actually went to Kansas City and declared myself a partner. Where's my badge? Here's my badge. Here's my badge, Sally.
Aren't you special?
Aren't I special? And I went out to Kansas City to really get into the week and see what it's all about. And I've been a distinguished partner ever since. And it's a wonderful week because the week is about entrepreneurs sharing their experiences, their information, their knowledge, their expertise, not only with other entrepreneurs and small business owners, but most importantly, to students of entrepreneurship, so that we can do whatever we can to assist, to help those college students, high school students, whatever they might be, move forward in their desire to spend their life as an entrepreneur, bringing new ideas, bringing innovation, whatever it is, new products, new services to the marketplace. So that's what you and I have to do, Sally. That's our obligation.
Well, you know what? What I read with the AARP journal about a year ago is that senior citizens are the fastest growing demographic of small business owners in our country.
Great comment. May I comment on that?
I imagine that you would.
Well, absolutely. Baby boomers who represent the largest demographic in the United States, approaching 80 million, certainly are the source of most of the new business startups. And it's pretty simple why. It's a pretty simple reason why. Because we were told 50 years ago or 45 years ago or whatever it might be that if we contribute to the system, when it was time for us to retire, we wouldn't have to worry about anything. They told us lies. They told us lies.
Lies.
So, okay, yes, they didn't really understand the impact of how many baby boomers were out there. And look how baby boomers have changed every aspect of living in this country because they represent the largest demographic. So,
well, I am the poster child for that because I've been laid off or lost jobs repeatedly in the last 10 years from the nonprofit sector as it kept shrinking and as funding kept shrinking and as the market kept collapsing. And I've had to turn to other means to support myself. And that is one of the ways I found the time, the inspiration, and the need to become a self-published author. If I'm not going to be hired to do the kind of work I know how to do, and by the way, I consider that a huge waste of expertise, knowledge, skills, and experience that are just going by the wayside over the last 10 years, not just mine, but so many people over the age of 50 are being underutilized or unutilized at all. But meanwhile, we're turning to other things like I am. And so here I am being an author, a marketer, a hangout on air host, somebody who helps other people learn how to do all these things. And I feel proud that I've taught myself or learned from other people like you and others how to use these different tools. And therefore, I can be of service to people who are newer to it than I am and keep going on my own learning curve. And I have with self-publishing.
It's a great point, Sally. And I want to ask you the question, what you just said. Why do you think that the baby boomers are underutilizing their wealth of information, their knowledge, their experiences? They've been in business either as a business owner or as an employee. They have years and years of experience. Why is it underutilized? Well, that's a double-edged.
From our original employment, we're being underutilized, and so we have to redirect, because the jobs we used to hold, the organizations we used to work for, all the different sectors we used to work within have shrunk or kicked us out or won't hire us back because we're too old or too expensive because of our experience, or those don't exist anymore. They've been offloaded to India, to other places. So at this point, what we have are a lot of people my age and older, I'm 61, or maybe a little younger than I am, who are not being used in the areas that we are expert. So we can use ourselves, but we're not being used by other organizations.
Well, it's really amazing how discussions are progressing this week, and by the end of the week, I'm going to have a great summary kind of statement of the various discussions that we have, because just yesterday, I had the same kind of discussion actually, it wasn't an HOA yesterday. Google Plus Hangouts weren't working for me yesterday. I had to go to Blab to do yesterday's discussion. It was bizarre, absolutely bizarre. I've done over 300 HOAs, and I went to start a broadcast, and I couldn't start it. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, I had a discussion yesterday with Stan Bush. I don't know if you know Stan or not.
I've seen him online, but I don't know him.
He's a great person to know. He is our age, our era, and excuse me. And we were talking yesterday about, he was asking the question, in 2016, do you want to be a solopreneur or do you want to be an entrepreneur? And I said, well, you'll have to explain that to me, because I've always considered myself to be an entrepreneur just because of how I've lived my life for the last 45 years. But I'm a solopreneur. I mean, I operate by myself. And I operate by myself, but I look for folks like you, Stan, or Sally, or whomever, who have expertise in certain areas, and then we can collaborate, we can work together, and we've created a new business model. We've created a new business model. And I'm putting a call out. I'm putting a call out to all baby boomers. And you have to be at least 60 years old. But if you want to get involved in collaboration and using your experiences, let me know. Contact me, and we will put you into our network of Dreaming with Entrepreneurs in Google Plus, because that's what we do. We share experiences. We collaborate with one another. We help each other. I hate to use the word help, but we assist each other. And Sally, let's segue then into why I really wanted to have a discussion with you today, because of your background as an author, an editor, an author, and a publisher. And I have been those three things in my lifetime. And so I wanted to talk with you about those things. And let me read a statement that you made and you put into the event stream, and I love it. And thank you for doing it. Anyone who wants to self-publish should spend almost as much time and effort building connections, networking, and developing a team as they do in writing. Please comment on that, and then let's get going here.
Well, I think that's another way that people in our generation have been betrayed and misled, lied to, or left by the wayside. The traditional publishing arena, up until about 10 or 15 years ago for sure, and definitely way before that, was a place where if someone decided to submit their work and were honored to be published, the publishing company took care of all that stuff, marketing and editing and cover design, and supported you and paid for your tours and everything you needed. They just took care of everything. Well, not only are they not doing that for independent publishers, obviously, those of us that are writing aren't picked up by anyone aren't even submitting our things to these traditional publishers anymore. But even the people who are being picked up by traditional publishers are not being treated that way. We all have to do most of it ourselves. And so in that way, we have to learn a whole other set of skills besides writing. And many people don't want to. Many people aren't good at those things who are good at writing. And so that's where we need the team. We need to support each other. We need to teach each other. We need to help each other move through all these other sectors of getting our book out into the world and being successful, or else we won't be.
Let me make two comments. First comment, based upon what you just said, and I'm going to take my life back to 2007. And I published this book. Not only did I put the book together as an author.
You should say the title of it in case somebody didn't see that.
How do you answer these 749 questions about your small business? And actually, to that point, if you go to my Google Plus profile, and if you go to Google, just Google SmallBizDavid, and you'll get to my profile, and you can actually download a complimentary PDF of the book. I highly recommend it. And Sally, I originally wrote the book, edited, published the book as a workbook. So we asked the 749 questions, but we left white space in between each one of those questions so that the small business owner could say, wow, never thought about that. That's something important for me to think about, and they could take notes. I need to call my accountant. I need to call my attorney. I need to call Sally, whoever it might be. And that was the intent of the book. Well, I put a lot of books out there. Quite honestly, all the money, I self-published the book. I went to a printer because I had been in the publishing business. I went to a printer, a friend, and I said, "Here's what I need to do. What can we do? I need to produce the book, manufacture the book at a cost that I can, mark it up a little bit, a fair markup, and make some money on it." So we put the concept together. He was a wonderful guy to work with, Jack Russett. Actually, he and I served together on the governor's Small Business Advisory Council back in those years. Anyway, I put the book together. I sold and distributed enough copies of the book just to basically cover expenses, and that's what happened. And it cost me $10,000 to publish it. So,
well, you must have sold a lot of copies if you made.
Well, we did enough to offset the expense. But you know what? And this kind of segues into a point I want to bring out today. People publish books for different reasons. Brian Tracy, and I actually heard him say this one-on-one, says that he will not publish a book unless he feels 1 million people will read that book. I mean, that's his guideline. So if he's going to take the time to write a book, and
but he writes nonfiction.
Well, no. It's a different ballgame. Yes, he does. He's published approaching 75 books, written in 1 million languages. Millions of people around the world have read. But that's his guideline. In order for him to take the time that it takes to write a book, to publish it, he says, if I'm not convinced 1 million folks will not read this book, I won't do it. Well, that's his guideline. That's the guideline that he works with. So we publish books for different reasons. But today, and here's a point I want to make to entrepreneurs, to students of entrepreneurship during this week. You must consider publishing a book, however you choose to do it. You might do it traditionally. You might use the technology that is available today. You might do it as an ebook. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. The important thing is it establishes you, your expertise, your branding, whatever it is you do. Now, I'm speaking as a nonfiction writer, publisher. Sally is a fiction, but that's what she does. That's her business, is to publish fiction books, correct?
Well, it is, and Wiwe Kananda is visiting with us, and he wanted to know, what is the story today? He asked me, because he knows that I write stories. And he's also asking us and telling us that the young baby boomers, when we were young, told everyone that anyone over 30 is history, and now we're part of that history. And everyone should ignore us because we told everyone to ignore anyone over 30 when we were under 30.
And that's a great comment, because I'm a father of two millennials aged 28 and 27. So I can hardly take that approach with my sons.
Well, I think what he's saying, and it's only partly tongue in cheek, is that we're reaping what we sow. And what I was talking about earlier, that we've been, thrown under the bus basically by the younger generation. And we kind of fostered that mindset, is what he's saying, that older people should be put out to pasture or ignored or diminished in some way due to the fact that we're older. That was the only criterion.
Well, I would take issue with the statement and say, well, who's putting us out to pasture? Are we putting ourselves out to pasture? Or
No, we're not being hired. There's a lot of statistics that show ageism is rampant in hiring practices and with hiring managers, and even right in the ads, they'll talk about things in code that will eliminate people that are older from being even qualified. And so, no, it is definitely not self-imposed. I would never agree to that.
You're giving me a flashback, Sally, to my life. In 1975, I was actively involved in the publishing business. I was publishing a monthly periodical to a very targeted audience, and I wanted to kind of expand my horizons with another publication. So I was publishing in Northeastern Ohio, and I came down to Southwestern Ohio, where I'd gone to college and made a lot of friends. And I tried to buy an old publication here in Cincinnati. And when I got down there, the gentleman knew why I was coming down. But when I got into his office and we started talking about the concept, this guy who was half my size, physically pushed me out of his office because he didn't want to be put out to pasture. I mean, when you said put out to pasture, it was amazing. So I wanted to, I had all the folks put together. I had an organization put together. I had capitalization put together so that I could actually do the deal. But the guy threw me out of his office, pushed me out of his office.
Well, in my books, my series is very contemporary, even though it's science fiction. I have it starting in the end of 2012 and continuing for another 30 years or so into the imagined future. But that means a lot of it is supposedly current, although the main component of that book is not happening, which is that the aliens reveal themselves and become more a part of our lives. But besides that, everything else that I write about in the book in terms of history and sociology and politics and all the other aspects are actually what is going on and what has been going on for many years and what could go on in the near future. And I have my main character, Claire, as my counterpart. And she goes on a rant at one point about how unfortunate and what a waste it is, as I did a few minutes ago, in terms of not using the expertise and experience of older people in our cultures, and that we're making a big mistake not to do that. And in our understanding of how businesses start and how they succeed and what makes people understand them, we're not drawing on all the people's knowledge that we could be.
Wonderful, and you're absolutely right. But some of that is our fault, if you will, because we're not. We don't aggressively do it like you and I. I mean, you and I are not part of that because we do. We take our expertise and we share it with as many folks as we possibly can, so that they can do it themselves or work with us and as a collaborative effort and do whatever we do. But you and I are not. We're bad examples because we do that. There are so many folks that are not doing it and should be doing it because we've got the experience. We know what works. We know what doesn't work. Now, we might not be familiar with, all the new technology, and you and I have spoken about this before. Technology is way different today than it was when you and I first started out doing what we do. It's actually
right. But I want to speak to what you said a minute ago about how you tried to do your Hangout yesterday and it didn't work.
Yep.
Google Plus has totally screwed up this interface. I've been doing Hangouts also for over a year and a half, and over the last few months, I have noticed time after time it doesn't work right. And it's not that I'm doing it wrong. I know how to do it. I've been doing it for over a year and a half. Google Plus has screwed with it, and it happened exactly when it had that divorce from YouTube. So something is going on with that. So even if you started over on the YouTube side, which is what I was doing as a workaround, it still doesn't always work right. So there's something going on with even the new technology once we learn it that is confounding everybody's ability to use it well, not age related. It's just that new technology has bugs, and all the people who are supposed to fix the bugs aren't always able to fix them in a timely fashion, but they roll it out anyway.
Or want to fix them. And that's a whole nother.
But they roll it out anyway. They put it in our hands and then they frustrate the hell out of us.
It's a great point. Let me share the experience that I had yesterday.
No, I don't want to hear it.
No, real quickly. No,
I mean, because I'm just kidding.
It's appropriate. It's very, very appropriate because we as entrepreneurs and small business owners, okay, we say, okay, I'm putting my faith and trust in this technology, and we go to use the technology that's not working that day. I have produced over 300, approaching 400 HOAs, and it hasn't changed. I mean, the way I set them up, the way I do them has been pretty much the same for the last almost 3 years. Now, interesting enough, you set up an HOA differently than I do, and that's okay. You do it the way you do it that works for you and works to your needs and how you do it and what it is you're trying to accomplish. I do it differently, and that's okay. We make it appropriate to our own businesses. Okay, Monday I did the very first Global Entrepreneurship Week HOA. Set it up the way I always do. Did it, ran fine. Yesterday, I had 2 HOAs scheduled, and I went to start broadcast, and then I couldn't start broadcast.
There was no button, or it wouldn't start?
There was no button. There was no, it had my banner. It had
but there was no green start broadcast button.
No, there's no video section. There was no video section.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's happened.
I said, oh, OMG. It would never happen to me before yesterday. So the HOA was supposed to be with my friend Stan Bush. Stan is a technology person. He gets into it. I said, Stan, what are we going to do? I said, here's my options. I could set up a new event. I could do that, and that's based on what's happening today. But then I've lost the marketing that I've done for the old event. And so is that a good marketing decision to do? Then the other option I said, and Stan actually taught me about blabs. He invited me into my very first blab. He said, David, why don't we just do a blab?
A lot of people are doing that, or Periscope. They're going to Blab or Periscope because Google Hangouts is screwing up.
Well, whatever. It's just another avenue and whatever. But it's kind of neat. Not kind of neat. It's very neat that, here we are, baby boomers with years of experiences doing whatever it is that we have done, and we're in today's world. Today's world is dramatically different than when you and I started doing what it is that we do today. So if we're going to make it in today's world, we got to get with it. We got to, we have to, the concepts and the principles haven't changed at all. What has changed is how we communicate with the rest of the world.
I actually think some of the principles have changed.
Let's argue about that.
Here in publishing, because it used to be considered a very much lower caste, lower class, denigrated option to self-publish. It was called vanity press. It was considered like only losers who couldn't get a traditional contract would ever do it. And I would say up until 5 years ago, that was still the pervasive perception. And that has totally changed. Lots of people who have been traditionally published have switched to independent publishing, and lots of us just started that way because we didn't want to wait around for some person sitting in some room in New York to decide that our books were good enough. We just said, screw that. We're going to put our books out ourselves, and we're happy with that. And we're getting more of the royalties, and we have more control, and it's really a better system.
And here, a year ago right now, I started to publish my video book, which was something dramatically different, and It's here we are a year later. Not a lot of folks have bought the book or bought a subscription to the book, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't have a big problem with that, but I'm going to use the book, the video book, as a textbook for
Good.
the SmallBizDavid Academy of Entrepreneurship, which we're going to launch in January. So we're going to take
Mazel
the book.
tov.
Thank you. For anybody that doesn't know, traditional Hebrew Mazel tov means good luck. It's a traditional comment for congratulations. We have to translate that, Sally, so folks know what we're talking about.
I'm glad you did.
Okay, so you know what, we live in a different world, and that's okay. I mean, the world changes. Interesting enough, the second largest demographic in the United States today are the millennials. We, the baby boomers, have created that millennial generation, and so the millennials think differently than you and I thought when we were their age. There's no question about it.
Oh, they not only think differently, but their brains are different. There have been studies done now that neuroplasticity has taken them into a whole new realm of the way they work in terms of their devices and their hand-eye coordination and the use of their thumbs and the way they think. And it really is different. And my son and I had a big disagreement about it, but then he showed me all the research. He's 35. And he's right. He's absolutely right. They grew up in a different era that changed the neurology of their biology. It's fascinating.
It really is. And my sons are 28 and 27, actually young enough to be my grandsons. But I bought my sons their first computer when my oldest son was 10. So that was 18 years ago. So I guess I'm at fault for starting the process 18 years ago. But they're wonderful human beings. But the way that they communicate with me, the way they communicate with the rest of the world is different than you and I communicated with our parents.
I had a big argument with my nephew who's in his 20s because he was trying to convince me that it was not impolite for him to get out of the conversation that we were in person and text people and answer his phone and look at his email while he and I were talking. And I said, I thought that was incredibly rude. And that if somebody else walked over and started talking to him while he and I were talking, he would certainly know that that was rude. So why wasn't it rude for him to do it with a device? And he just went into this whole long thing that he really believes about how that's not the same. And to me, it's totally the same. And I think it's impolite.
Let me tell you a horrible experience for me. It happened, I don't know, 6-7 months ago. I was in a restaurant eating, and I looked over across, and there was a table, a mother, a father, 2 children. The children were probably 12 and 10. I'm just guessing, 12 and 10. All 4 of those individuals, all 4 of them, not just the kids, all 4 of them were on devices, communicating with the device and not sitting down as a family and communicating with one another. I was just, oh my
God. It's appalling. I know. It's really sad. Here's my new favorite technique that some people are using when they're meeting people in person. We call that IRL, in real life. When they're meeting people IRL, and everybody has to put their devices, their cell phones, their iPads, whatever, in the middle of the table, and the first person to pick it up has to pick up the bill for the meal.
So what if nobody picks up the device? Who picks up the bill?
Then they split the bill, and they have a nice evening together.
Do you really think that anybody, it's worth it to pick up that device to have to also pick up the bill?
I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting way to recognize that you need to have an incentive to stop staring at your screens.
You know what? I'm very, very good at just saying no. I'm very, very good at it. When I leave, I'm wired all day long. I'm wired when I'm in my home. When I leave my home, which isn't all that much, but when I leave my home, I don't want connectivity at all. I don't, except for an emergency. So I have a phone, and it's the cheapest phone I could buy. It's the cheapest minutes I could buy. It's not a smartphone. It's the dumbest phone I've ever had in my life, but it's only for emergencies. And if somebody needs to get to me in an emergency, I've got the phone. But when I'm away from my desk, I don't want connectivity. I just don't want it. So
well, you would be
just
considered
say no.
you would be considered a semi-Luddite at this point.
Luddite?
And
Luddite?
a Luddite is someone who doesn't want to use technology and considers it to be inappropriate or poisonous. And the thing is, if you enter into a business arrangement with people who don't think that way, and you're not available when they think you should be available, they're going to get mad at you.
Okay,
they're
well,
going to think you're unreliable. They're going to think that you're not available to their liking. You're going to get into a whole conflict about it. That is the new reality.
I agree with that, and I won't take issue with that at all. And I don't have clients as such, so that.
But if you did.
Well,
right,
if I did, if I said I want to have clients, then it would be incumbent upon me to communicate with them or be available to communication any way they wanted to, because the customer is our lifeblood.
Or here's my theory, or you set boundaries. You say, here are the times I'm available. Here are the frequencies with which I check various devices. If that suits you and me, that's our agreement. I'm not available 24/7. I'm not a firefighter. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't need to be available to anybody 24/7 except my family. And even they know that I go to sleep and turn off my phone. So,
Sally, I've got to. We got to end this wonderful discussion that we're going to pick up. We're going to pick up in the future sometime because, well, actually, it's incumbent upon us to pick up this conversation in the future because we're talking from our frame of reference as baby boomers and what we've gone through for the last 40 years. And so we need to communicate with that and share that knowledge and information and understanding. Thank you for your time today.
Let me just tell people that I put my contact points and information on your event page, and they can find all of that on sallyember.com, SALLYEMBER.com.
Thank you very much, and you and I will talk in the near future.
Thank you for having me on. Good luck with all your entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Adios.
And for folks who are visiting me for the first time, it's stay in touch. Google SmallBizDavid, and you'll get to wherever you need to get to continue communication. And I'll see you the next time, which may very well be the best time. See you then.